James Lynch here for Sportskeeda. Happy to be joined by the lovely and extremely talented Megan Olivi here on the red carpet. Usually it's the other way around. You're the one talking to the fighters. How cool is it to have nights like this where you get to, get dressed up and you're the one getting to answer the questions?
Oh my God, I hate it. Yeah, I hate it. I love telling it somebody else's story, but when it's about me, I feel like I'm panicking, like I'm so nervous right now. The dressed up thing, I always love. But, everything else, I'm like, oh, don't talk about me, talk about everyone else.
You and your husband are very, sort of fashion oriented. Do you have to run the outfit by him?
Oh yeah, we do like a thing, we're like, okay, it's time for the fashion show, and I'll sort of put together options that I think of wearing, and then he helps me narrow it down, because what people don't realize is you can't wear a lot of things on camera. So oftentimes I'll have to bring like 3 different outfits, which I just had to do in Austin, because sometimes things look kind of wonky, or the coloring looks weird, or they can't white balance it. So yeah, there's a whole art to dressing for TV.
You've been doing this for a long time, even before the UFC. I remember watching your stuff for Heavy. I'm an OG like that, remembering those interviews. How many women have contacted you over the years, seeing what you do and being sort of a trailblazer in that aspect?
It's really kind. I'm fortunate. It's been quite a few. And, throughout my MMA career, it's been a lot of people in the sport. But once COVID hit, I started hearing from my counterparts in other sports and asking, hey, how did you do this safely? How are you guys able to do this? I saw this interview, and that meant the world to me, because when maybe they wouldn't be watching UFC content or MMA content, now we have their full focus and they want to know how we do it. So it's something that I don't take lightly. I feel like it's a responsibility, and every week I feel like I'm out there sort of proving why it's important to me and why I'm doing the best I can for everyone involved in the sport.
Who were some of your influences before getting into broadcasting? I'm a TV guy. That's my background, what I came from. I have my favorites, but who did you really look up to?
Still to this day, Kelly Ripa. That's sort of a dream role for me, to be able to host a morning show like that and talk to people from all walks of life. Kelly and I have been fortunate to become friends. She's been an incredible advocate for me and just somebody I can run and bounce ideas off of. She's amazing. But then you have sports reporters like Pam Oliver. I grew up watching Pam and just thinking like, man, she is like the gold star. Like she keeps her composure. Everyone seems to like talking to her. You never question anything that comes out of her mouth. She's an authority and when she's on that field. And so I've really always loved watching her, Erin Andrews, Michelle Beadle. There's so many people who have so much to offer the sports world and really the storytelling world.
Why haven't you pitched a morning show with you and Joe on UFC Fight Pass? Why does it not happen?
I've pitched a lot of things that don't happen, let's just say. Listen, they're probably like, Megan, shut up. We don't want to hear anymore. But I would love to do any of it. I think being able to just talk to people is really a passion for me. I feel like it's an Olivi characteristic. My dad's that way. It's just something I love to do. I'm so interested in how people got to where they are and what makes them tick, that hopefully, fingers crossed, we can do more of it.
And is there an interview, maybe outside of MMA, that you'd love to do that someone that you haven't spoken to that comes to mind when I say that?
Well, I would say for my other job, it would probably be Tom Brady, because, I work the NFL sidelines as well for NFL and Fox during the football season, and I've never gotten to work a Tom Brady game. You gotta earn that status, right? I'm working my way up to that, but I would love to be able to interview Tom before or after a game. I think that is such an iconic thing for the sport, and to be a part of his story, even in some minuscule way, would be amazing.
Have you ever wanted to do commentary? I was always wondered that about you.
Yeah, certainly, I don't believe that I am a fighter analyst here or could step into that role. I didn't compete in the octagon or anything like that. I would love to at least be a backup for play-by-play, so that should something happen, that I'm able to step into that role. And I feel like I've done a bit of prep for that in terms of the hosting experience and how you sort of traffic all of that, and you get in your ads and your reads and your tosses and stuff. So that's certainly a role I would never turn down. It's just an opportunity that has not been offered to me at this point.
And how did MMA come on your radar? I was always wondering that as well.
Man, it's crazy. My brother was a wrestler. I come from sort of the wrestling mecca of the country, the Lehigh Valley. My brother wrestled, went to the Naval Academy, was on Team Foxcatcher, and so I kind of understood the sport. My grandfather and great uncle were both boxers. My grandfather was a Navy champion boxer. My great uncle was a professional boxer. And I was interning, and people were like, wait, you understand some of these aspects? Do you want to work on this show? I worked on a show a little while, helped out, and then I started going to fights with Joseph. I met him in the lobby of Mandalay Bay before I went to graduate school, and we started going to some fights, and I finally got an offer, hey, do you want to come to Vegas and try to cover this? And I was super poor in New York City. I was like, all right, well, I could always move back and be poor, but let's give it a try, and never looked back.
And just before we go, I do have to talk about the Hall of Fame, obviously a little bit. Khabib Nurmagomedov, what a career. Undefeated, just his attitude in and out of the cage, not a trash talker, a guy who just did his talking in the cage. Will we see anyone like him again, do you think?
That's a really good question. I don't know if we ever will, because not just the perfection, but like you said, the way he carried himself, and he didn't need anything else. You know, he never needed the outside noise. He got some of the outside noise, but he didn't ever need it. I don't know if we ever will. I do think he's a unicorn in the sport. I don't think there's going to be someone that we compare to him in all aspects. I really don't.
Enjoy the rest of your night, and thank you so much for the time.
No, thank you for all the great content you put out. Truly, I told you this off camera, but I need to say it on camera. You are killing it. You ask such thoughtful questions to people on all spots of the card, and I don't want you to think it ever goes unnoticed, because we love it. We take it in and just keep killing it.
I appreciate that. I don't need to do any more interviews the rest of the night. It's not going to get much better than this. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. Have a good one.